Well, hello there, you lovely people.
Hello.
Season's greetings to all of you. Let's Drinker and Mauler here at the open bar, just by ourselves, as often happens.
Everyone left. So
I hope, yeah. Well, this is it. We're just clearing up the empties now, but I hope you guys all had a fantastic Christmas. I know I did, from what I can remember.
Yeah, it's been a big old fun time, and plenty of streams and videos for people to watch if they haven't got familia to wimble womble around with. That's what humans do, right? That's the Christmas thing, yeah.
I think humans like to associate with other humans, especially if they're related to them. That's what I've been told.
So, how adorable.
Hopefully everyone got a chance to do that, and yeah, everyone was extremely generous to us on our last open bar. We had a hell of a good panel that night, and there was lots of super chats that came in. Obviously, we are here to answer the ones we couldn't do at the time. So I know there's quite a lot waiting for us, so I'm going to dive right in, head first, as always. So, first one is RRTNZ, who says, "Hail Drunkler and panel. Question for all. Both Oppenheimer and Napoleon came out in 2023. What are your best and worst biopics of all time?" Chuck Norris actually had a cameo in Oppenheimer as the Blast Wave. I mean, that's clearly not true because the Blast Wave was not powerful enough to equal Chuck Norris. But yeah, best biopics, maybe Lincoln with Daniel Day-Lewis. So
I need to watch that. Something that
good.
Ringy wants to see at some point. I never saw it.
I think Meryl Streep when she was in The Iron Lady. I was like the biography for Thatcher. Again, I thought that was pretty good. Like really solid performance from her. And
I did see that one. Yeah, I like that. Did you see the Tolkien one?
No.
That's with Nicholas Hoult playing him.
Was he good?
I haven't seen it. I was going to ask if Gary had seen it. I keep meaning to. I assume he did, but I don't know.
He must have done. He's probably seen everything Tolkien related. Probably knows the guy better than his own family.
I don't know if it counts. I think it does, but Ed Wood is a really good film.
Oh, yeah. That was Johnny Depp and Tim Burton, wasn't it?
Yeah. A lot of people consider that Tim Burton's best film.
Interesting. In terms of bad biopics, I mean, Napoleon was pretty fucking terrible, if I'm honest with you. It's like completely misrepresents his life and most of the key battles that he was involved in and his personality and his personal life and most of the decisions he made. And the chronology of it, but hey, apart from that, it was solid. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of any other bad ones.
Did people what do people think of Alexander?
Oh yeah, Alexander.
I remember people not liking that one. I remember seeing it and thinking like, I don't know what the fuck's going on in this.
It was just really slow and meandering, and it felt like the movie didn't really reach a point. Like it didn't really reach a dramatic conclusion. It just kind of fizzled out, and yeah, I think Colin Farrell was a terrible choice for Alexander.
They sometimes had trouble fitting him into the right roles, Colin Farrell, to the point where it made me think he wasn't that good of an actor, and then I think it was In Bruges that made me completely change my mind on that.
Yeah, they probably, because I guess he was young and pretty handsome and stuff, they wanted to try and make him into a typical Hollywood leading man, and did various action roles and stuff. Like I remember when they had
Total Recall. Do you remember that?
Ugh. Yes, I remember that.
Oh,
good Lord, that was a bad choice.
But so you know what? A lot of people don't even know that exists, and that's okay. That's fine.
It's one of those films that's best forgotten about, I would say.
Yeah.
Ballistic Knight says, "I like Blue-Eyed Samurai, but Mary Sue does appear here and there." Ooh, that's a harsh criticism. I mean, I sort of get where you're coming from. The main character is very skilled at a lot of things. Like, she's a super good sword fighter, probably more physically strong than she should be given her size, but it is an anime ultimately. I suppose it's a little bit like hyper stylized, but I think the main takeaway for me is that she often makes mistakes. Like, she can make lapses in tactical judgment. She sometimes makes the wrong call. She gets tunnel vision when it comes to her mission and sometimes misses things. And yeah, sometimes she takes a real beating and needs other people to help her out. So that immediately makes her...
To soften the strength of like a character like that is that she takes a beating. I would say Arcane is probably similar to that, right?
Like Vi gets beaten up pretty bad.
Yeah, Vi simultaneously deals out significant damage, but she does come close to death, I think, twice.
Yeah. I think in Blue-Eye Samurai, there's at least 4 occasions where she's close to death. Like at one point, she just straight up passes out and has to be like carried away by someone else. So it's like, it's pretty serious. But yeah, I would recommend you try it if you got the time. It's only like 8 parts. So
well, you know what I was planning on doing when the Metal Commander arrives is we're going to watch Red Dwarf, I think.
Oh, a man of culture, I see.
I have the full box set, so he's here for 2 weeks. So we'll try and work through it a bit.
One thing I will say to you, don't judge the show on the basis of season 1 because it's not the best.
But you'd still say not to skip it, I guess, right?
I mean, like there's not a huge amount of continuity between episodes, so you don't have to worry too much about it. You probably could skip and just go straight to season 2, but yeah, really hits its stride around season 3. Like 3, 4, 5, and 6, I think are pure gold for me.
All right.
And then yeah, after that, it really fell off a cliff. Don't bother with anything after season 6 because it's really not that good.
I think the box set I have doesn't even. Is that the new stuff or is that still part of the old stuff?
Season 6 was probably the last of the old stuff. Then it took like a big hiatus for several years, and then came back with another season, and then I think another big long hiatus, and then came back. And yeah, I think that's probably a good point to stop. David Lamplow says, being on everyone's podcast is the only thing that brings joy to my life. Boogie Mauler.
A little bit. Collecting them like Infinity Stones, okay?
Eventually, you'll just control all the podcasts.
Yeah.
He also says, Boromir and Theoden are the best characters in Lord of the Rings because they're the most human with the best character arcs. Also, they had particularly tragic deaths. Can't argue with that.
That would be the simplest way of why I like Boromir the most, is I consider him the most human, the most... I like a flawed and then, redemptive character because human beings are pretty flawed, and it gives us all a sense of, hey, it doesn't mean you shit. There's a way back.
Yeah. Howard Jones says, say it, the American the Society of Magical Negroes. There, I said it, and I'm only saying it because that's the title of the movie. Whodunit says, Mauler and Drinker and fellow panel drunks, thoughts on the praise that Loki Season 2 is getting with claims of it being the best thing that's come out in this phase. With Mauler as usual, and please talk more on the bar, Longman.
Hey, I talk where I would like to talk. We got to let our guests get in there,
I mean, when you've got Chris Gore and Robert Meyer Burnett on the stream, like they're going to do quite a bit of talking between them. So
yes. So as for Loki, if you remember, I think we've almost forgotten now because it's been paved over. But there was an era. It wasn't that long ago, maybe a year and change. But every single thing that Marvel came out with, there was a huge wave of praise. Always. I think we started to notice it fall apart with, I want to say Love and Thunder was like one of the first big ones of like, oh shit, everyone's making fun of it. What's going on? Usually there's people being like, oh, this is so fucking good. Oh my God. Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, Loki Season 2 is just a little remnant of that sort of attitude, which I still find to be fucking repulsive. Every person I talk to who has praise for that show is just like, isn't it so interesting and amazing? It not only references the comics, but that he's become the god of stories and that Loki's made this huge sacrifice and blah, 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 blah. I think it was on Open Bar, or it could have been Real BBC, that I was asking a super chat who said they loved it, like, please explain to me how it happened mechanically. It's an idea. It's not even, like, executed in a story. He just becomes the god of stories, and then they tell us he made a sacrifice. Like, okay.
I mean, none of it means anything to me anyway, because I'm just not interested in Loki. I'm not going to watch season 2.
Nor should you.
Season 1 killed my passion for anything to do with that character.
Yep.
And yeah, I think I'm just seeing that more and more with anything Marvel related. Like the TV shows, don't care anymore. It is not worth my time. Nobody even cares for me to review them, I don't think. Like there's such lack of interest in these things.
That's now how you know there's a serious death of like the cultural interest of these things. And people are like, yeah, Drake, you should review
Yeah. I mean, I think She-Hulk was the last where people were like, oh, come on, watch it and review it. It's like, fine. Yeah, that's pretty much
you
it.
Guys.
Yeah. Northern English Bastard. Dear Drinker, Longman, and your awesome guests. Wishing Lance a speedy recovery as I'm grateful he's had me guest on his streams before. Once again, thanks for helping me with advice on how to improve my game, and Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, one of my mods, Lance, struck down with a bit of pneumonia recently, and I was talking to him on the phone, and man, he sounded rough, like really struggling. But I think he's on the mend now. But
good.
Yeah, Thank you for that one, Northern English bastard. And yes, your content is definitely coming on in leaps and bounds, so well done, man. John Sullivan says, "Hail panel, Cameron has added DNR using AI to the 4K home release of True Lies, Aliens, The Abyss, and Titanic. From screenshots, the first two are absolutely horrendous. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts."
Oh no!
So is that dynamic noise reduction?
If that's what I think it is in terms of the negative effects it can have, I would be very upset by it. Like, 'cause it can destroy like film grain, right?
I think so, yeah, because it smooths things out, doesn't it? Especially if you use AI.
Oh god. Yeah. Well, I would like to have True Lies on 4K, but I guess if what did you say those affected? Was it 4 that it affected?
So it was True Lies, Aliens, The Abyss, and Titanic.
Well,
yeah,
I've
so
already
in
got.
a technical,
Was Aliens released on 4K yet? I don't think it was, right?
it's just come out because someone messaged me about it recently.
Fucking insane that it's only recently they got a 4K for Aliens. Don't understand that at all.
It does make me wonder if you're going to start to pick out things that you maybe shouldn't have seen, though. Like, because I think the sets, the props, and everything look amazing in Aliens. They look so real and lived in, and I just worry, like, when you get super high definition, you're going to be like, I can see that that's just a really crappy film prop, you know.
What was funny is the Buffy 4K is notoriously horrible, but because I watched through it just to see what the differences were. Like, there was some stuff where I was like, holy shit, I can read the posters in the background. I could never do that before because it was standard definition. And look at that. It was almost like you get to see new things in a good way. And I have to imagine Aliens was made, like, you know, by people who knew what they were doing. So I think even in the highest definition, it should be all right, right? Maybe it'll look even better.
Well, there's one that does kind of make me chuckle where it's, you know, like the poster where Ripley is holding Newt in one arm and she's got like a pulse rifle in the other and like kind of pointing it. And I always looked at it and thought, God damn, that gun's probably quite heavy. Like, I'm really surprised Sigourney Weaver could lift it. And then when you see like a high res version, you can see like it's just made of plastic. Like the barrel doesn't even have a hole in it. Like, it's a fairly obvious prop. Like, because apparently the real props, they only had like 1 or 2 that would actually fire ammunition, and they were horrendously unbalanced and heavy and awkward to carry. It's kind of an interesting little thing about how they work, but they look cool. That's the main thing. Thomas Costigan says, "R.I.P. James McCaffrey, the voice of Max Payne, legend." Yeah. Tragic. Glippy says, "At this point, I want everything to do with the Suicide Squad and Harley Quinn to go away. There is so much of it, and it all sucks."
Yep.
True. There are so many stories more deserving than just the bad guy squad kills people with quirky girl for the 50th time. It's a complete fad. The leaked image of the game pisses me off to no end. It's Arkham Universe Batman. The guy took down an army and multiple gangs in one night. Indeed.
Do you know about the leak?
Is that the Poison Ivy one, where it's like a little girl now for some reason?
That's the other leak. The main leak is that Harley Quinn shoots Batman in the head and kills him after they have a little back and forth, which is just not something that I think many people are ready for in the world of DC. So
it's a choice. It's definitely a creative choice. It's I don't know. It reminds me of that like Spider-Man 2 game where Peter Parker just says, you know, why does the city need me when they've got you? I'm just going to retire. Miles Morales, you're now Spider-Man.
Enough.
Yeah. Angry Batman says, "Merry early Christmas. Go away now." Well, ironically, it's now late Christmas, so thank you anyway.
Cover both.
You could bookend our Christmas experience with that super chat. Thank you. Wayland Bicefis says, "Do you guys ever math debate too much?"
Math debate?
Just like debating the utility of quadratic equations and stuff. No, you'd be surprised to know that we don't really.
I was going to say that's just not something we do, but you know, maybe that shocks and stuns people.
I always look at things like that and think, okay, maybe he mistyped. What could he have possibly meant to say there? Math. Okay, well,
we'll never know.
Yeah. Casey Boyd says, can't wait to see what Drinker thinks of Attack on Titan. I disagree with the opinion that the second half is worse. It was consistent and the writing is very intentional. The third season especially hit hard. Well, I do have the whole of season 1 on box set, so I'm ready to go with it.
Which show is that, sorry?
Attack on Titan.
Oh, right.
So it's the Christmas holidays. It's the ideal time to watch it. Timmy04 says, rank the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. I couldn't even tell you what fucking happens in them at this point. It's been a long time.
Off the top of my head, I'd have to rewatch them to give you an actual like substantive answer, but probably I think 1 is the fave, and then 3 and 4 between those 2, and then 2. I remember 2 being a bit of a drop, but not like, in a hugely significant way.
Yeah, I kind of had this big impression that the show would have peaked around season 3. Just like when did we have the Red Wedding?
That's season 3, yeah.
Yeah. I just kind of feel like that's probably where they hit that sweet spot of like increased budget so they could do more visually with battles and things. But they still had the high level of writing quality and like care and attention. And then you begin to drop off after that. T1S says, I'm hyped for my EFAP vinyl figures. I guess it'll be like a Christmas present for myself, but when are Drinker and Metal doing vinyls?
Oh.
Wow. I'm just waiting for mine to arrive, actually. When are they supposed to ship? Is it January?
I believe so, yeah. So you'll be getting your notifications very soon.
Woo! All right, look forward to that. And yeah, I don't have any immediate plans, but that could change. We'll see. Mega Spidey Man says, Happy Christmas, everyone. To all, favorite Scrooge and why, and favorite Christmas Carol and why. I think we know the answer to that.
What is your answer to that?
It's got to be Michael Caine from Muppets Christmas Carol.
That would probably be mine.
My only acceptable choice. There was one Patrick Stewart did Scrooge as well, and I can't remember when it was, but it's probably sort of 2000s. Christmas Carol. Oh, 1999. Damn. But yeah, I remember his take being like probably more closer to the literary version. But yeah, Michael Caine just takes it from me. Just can't help but enjoy that movie. Derek says, if I meet David Benioff and D.B. Weiss in person, I'd be polite to them, even though I hate Game of Thrones Season 8. But if I met Rian Johnson, I'd tell him to his face that he ruined Star Wars and that I hate him.
Okay. How come D&D get away with it?
Yeah. You think their failure was just more down to incompetence and lack of actual talent, whereas in his case it was malicious.
I mean, if you can believe that that's what he seems to claim, that he's like, hey, that's what I created, a thing that is in line with Star Wars.
Yeah,
I don't fucking believe it, but yeah.
Yeah. Wes Dupree says, hail chat and hail to Open Bar. Thoughts on the upcoming Argylle? The concept sounds like a slam dunk. It reminds me very much of Romancing the Stone, in that it's told from the point of view of a female author who kind of gets swept up in this adventure. She's used to writing about these things, and suddenly she's experiencing it. And yeah, I think it's got potential to be fun. Like I remember Romancing the Stone being quite a good movie. So hey, maybe, I don't know how much Henry Cavill's actually going to feature in it, because he's the sort of fictionalized version of Argylle.
Yes.
Whereas Sam Rockwell, who's the actual version. So I imagine he's going to be the mainstay of the film, really. Azzy's Wonky Eyebrow says, for the drinker, Merry Christmas panel and the wonderful chat. 4K Ultra Lord of the Ring Extendeds for me to watch over Christmas. Good times. Cheers, fellas. I can't argue with that.
Hell yeah.
Good life choice. The Wolf from Heart says, hail and Merry Christmas, drinker and panel. Christmas came early and I got my doggo plush today. Also, you should review Jake Speed, like a Don Pendleton novel. All right, fair play. And I'm glad you got your doggo plush. Mine arrived also. Acedia Geo says, Merry Christmas, drinker and mauler. First super chat to you, I think. Thanks for all of the work that you guys do. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Lost 77 says, coffee only slows drinker down. He needs whiskey. That is true. That's what powers me. Kino Turk says, fellows, do you think it's better to see a baby piss in Momoa's mouth than Herd shitting on his bed? Well, Yeah, it's probably better to get it over with.
Why
like
are
that.
these our choices?
I know. I mean, if it's any consolation, basically no one's watching this movie anyway, so barely anyone gets to see the baby piss in his mouth. It's what was the opening weekend? It was like $40 million or something terrible.
Yeah.
It's bad times. Moses Lack says, Open Bar is my favorite show on any platform. Did I say show? I mean event, because that's what it is. Hail Drinker and Mauler, hail to the panel, hail chat. Let's bust out the lube and do this. Fair play.
All right.
You go first. But yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad you enjoy the Open Bar. Michael Baddy says, Merry Christmas to you all. Merry Christmas, sir. Moses Lack also says, oh shit, it's legendary drinker Frank Gore. He is legendary when it comes to drinking. Silly Legs says, Merry Christmas, you drunken bastards. Love the Lord of the Rings videos.
Thank you. We love to make them. Mostly.
Not so much editing them, Mauler. Jesse George, I enjoyed the Lord of the Rings anniversary stream. Loved hearing you guys talk about films you're passionate about. I hope someday we'll see films like that again. Thank you. And I hope we do too. I'm not holding out too much hope, though.
Not for now, but maybe one day.
50 Shades of Grayson says, Merry Christmas to all of us who have perverted the proper English language. Chris Gore, stop going to Pink's hairdresser. Love you guys. Chris Gore's got epic hair. I respect it. Marksman of 117B. Sargon DMing a D&D game with a parrot that's fighting him and Rags laughing, but you have the better doggo, so here I am. Mauler, get a raven.
A raven?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Edgar Allan Poe certainly thought so.
Yeah.
Joshua Henderson says, I have to admit, Drinker, you wear shades just like Albert Wesker from Resident Evil, except you don't have red eyes like the real deal. Well, not that you know. That's why I keep them hidden, you see. Sonny Close says, is there a better three-character dynamic than Quint, Brody, and Hooper in Jaws? Might be able to go you one better and say Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in Star Trek, but it's close. I like these three-character dynamics. You can play around with it so much when you've got three to balance each other out. Also, Zack Snyder should do a Berserk movie with Henry Cavill.
No,
I'm just not convinced that Zack Snyder should do any movies ever.
You should. You can work at Tesco's. That'll be right.
I think so. Or he could do graphic design or something. Just where he just makes still images that look pretty. Try that. Patrick Bowser says, Mauler, any future plans to EFAP the Blade trilogy? Eric, would you join EFAP if they did Blade? I don't know if Eric can answer, but would you ever EFAP Blade?
Yes, and we'd totally invite Eric if he would be interested, but just the idea that we've never had him on, that's like, we're covering a black superhero, better get Eric. But yeah, it'd be cool.
Adam Zillan says, how could you talk up seeing a Japanese character hunt down and kill 4 white men who are somehow the enemy? Imagine if he, she, or they had to kill 4 black men. Well, I mean, they're the enemy because they're all horrible people. It's not really because they're white, but the fact that they're white makes them very easy to find in Japan, or at least one of them is. And yeah, like the more the show progresses, the more you find out her motivations for why she's doing this. And yeah, the main antagonist of season 1, he's not a good person, but you have to wait to see where it goes after that, because it goes in kind of unexpected directions. Yeah. Quippy says, been seeing the argument running around that if companies didn't spam content, their IPs would be doing much better. If all they did was take a break but didn't change any of the talent, I don't know. I don't really believe that, because Star Wars has slowed down quite a bit in content production. Nobody likes that still. It's still shit.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because, like, looking at, let's take Doctor Who. It's like, was everyone thinking Doctor Who would be good if half of what we got was out? It's like, no. What about a quarter? No. Well, it's like, it's all horribly executed. So maybe you'd be accurate in saying, like, the damage done to these franchises would be lesser. Maybe. I'm trying to think now. Like, let's say, for example, all the Star Wars shows didn't come out. It was just the movies. I still feel like Star Wars would be dead.
I definitely like. I can advocate in favor of taking a break, particularly when things have just gone completely down the tubes. Like, okay, clearly what we're doing isn't working. We can't keep trying to fix it on the fly. Let's pause everything, reassess. Fine, that's one thing you can do, and it will allow the fan antagonism to die down a little bit because eventually people do get tired of being mad and they'll just move on to something else. But yeah, it's got to be more than just, hey, let's pause. Like, you actually have to improve your quality of output as well. Moses Lack also says, Robert Meyer Burnett, the voice of reason in a world where Hollywood tries to convince you that a shit burger is just uncooked filet. Well, he's doing his best. Lost 77, Drinker and All. If the Doctor's By Generation is retroactive by Russell T Davies and Timeless Children has countless child doctors being regenerated, then shouldn't there be near infinite doctors, or am I going crazy? Well, correction, infinite times 2 doctors.
I didn't listen to his interview where he talked about that. I heard Gary and Az talking about it, and I legit was like, I give up. I'm not trying to even think about how any of that could work. That's just not. I don't know how many times I've come across this when someone takes, like the autism hunting predators, right? That's so stupid, but I can at least like visualize in my head like what they're saying the new canon is, and then say no, that's not what it is. With what Russell T said about Doctor Who, it's like he's bi-generated across all generations. I'm like, I don't know what you're even talking about anymore. I'm not even gonna try and understand it. I'm done.
Yeah. I think it was one of those interviews where he wasn't really considering the bigger repercussions of what he was saying. He was just spitballing ideas, and now people are like, oh, it's canon now. Every Doctor everywhere has bi-generated and come back to life. Like, yeah, I don't know how that would be represented on screen. And I don't care. It's, it's like if someone's trashed your house and then they decide to piss in the corner. Like, the damage is already done. You're just making it slightly worse than it already was. It's already ruined. And so, yeah, the Doctor Who franchise is just calamitous at this point. Right. Sorry, I lost my place there. Yeah, Quippy, he says, oh yeah, this is following on from part 2, or from what he said previously about like cutting down the number of things outputting. I think the content would be better produced, and if it were said that you'd obviously have to change them out for it to work, then isn't that the much more important problem? I mean, I think so, yeah. Like, the problem is that you're producing low quality output, and regardless of whether you slow it down, if you don't actually work to improve it, then you're not fixing the problem, you're just delaying it. Normie says, just wanted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. Quippy also says, if we got 10 Star Wars things a year, but they all had great stories, I'd raise an eyebrow at anyone complaining that we're getting too much. I mean, would I still have that complaint? Say if that was theoretically happening, like 10 different movies and TV shows, all Star Wars coming out in a year. I think I would start to complain of just content overload, even if it was good. Because there's only so much you can digest before you're like, okay, I need a break from this now.
I think at that point, the only way that stays healthy, because this is the problem with the hypothetical, is like, oh yeah, but they're all still great. I'd be like, well, that means they would have had to have expanded Star Wars hardcore. Like, we would have the mainline trilogy with Luke Skywalker's stuff, and maybe even a trilogy again of like Han, Luke, and Leia doing things, and they don't even die by the end of it. And then another trilogy where they start, dying based on some horrible force, and then another trilogy with the new characters, and that's that line. Then you have another line that maybe continues Old Republic era or starts it up and stuff. Then another line that's like a distant part of the galaxy with brand new characters and brand new blah blah blah, and all of that shit is running, and that it's like, I don't know, man. If it's all great, I guess that we would maybe be in a universe where we'd be saying Star Wars is it's the best IP ever made. That it's but obviously the reality would just be that it got incredibly lucky to have so many people making it that it kept it going. Because you could say there would be a form of fatigue, but I mean, we saw the MCU survived for a very long time, despite the fact that that was all. What was the maximum? Did we get like 4 movies in a year at one point?
I think we probably did. That would have been 2019 when we led up to Endgame.
And I can't see why it would die if they were all really, really well executed. If we had like a Lord of the Rings once per year or even twice per year, I guess we would just be shocked because we just don't get that. That just doesn't happen.
No.
There's no time I can appeal to or be like, oh, remember when we had that and that's what our reaction was too, because it just doesn't happen.
And I think, you know, it is an entirely hypothetical question because in real terms, there's a practical upper limit to the amount of content that any studio can put out and still maintain a level of quality there. Like it just would get to the point where it's impossible to keep track of it all, and to have so many productions running simultaneously, you just wouldn't have the resources. Even someone as big as Marvel couldn't do it. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to speculate on, I suppose.
Yeah.
Fred the Cosmic Chicken says, "Hi, I would like to recommend an anime called Beyond Journey's End, a fantasy set after Demon King's defeat, and how the elf of the party perceives time and regrets not cherishing the time she had with them." Okay.
All right.
That's interesting. I do think there's something interesting about the whole idea of elves and their immortality. Like, Lord of the Rings obviously delves into it to some extent with Arwen falling in love with Aragorn, and that very brutal montage you get, I guess, of he will live a long time, but eventually he's going to die, and you're going to be trapped without him, and like whatever time you had with him, it's immeasurably small in terms of the actual span of your life. Is that something you really want? Do you want to subject yourself to that? And you wonder how they perceive their lives when they live for thousands of years. It would be an interesting perspective, I suppose, and it's not something you get too much in terms of like the psychology of that. So yeah, I could get into something like that, I think. Avarith says, "So Drinker, are you finally going to apologize to Mauler for thinking him insane for saying that the Marvels wouldn't make more than 350 million? I already have. Like many times.
To be fair, I was completely off. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it was more a case of we had no concept of how bad it would be, I suppose. It's redefined like the measure of failure, I suppose, for Marvel. And it'll be interesting to see what happens next. Dash Attack says, "Saw Rebel Moon last week. It's got minor structure issues, but it's a breath of fresh air compared to the sequel trilogy. I'm interested. Hope it catches on." Poorly aged things, I suspect. I think every aspect of Rebel Moon is a failure. The visuals are horrible. The characters are non-existent. Nobody has any personality. The world building is completely fucked. It doesn't make any sense.
The action's terrible.
Yeah, the mechanics of how everything works are never explained, and it just looks ridiculous. Yeah, man, it's a terrible movie, and man, I can't believe that we're going to get not only like a director's cut that's twice as long, we're going to get a part 2 and then a director's cut of that, which will also be twice as long. Like, who does he think is going to watch this?
Will you watch the extended cut?
I don't know. The thing is, like, what if hypothetically it's fucking amazing? And we're like, my god, this is like the best sci-fi ever.
The Friggy was like, I am not watching that. And I was like, I gotta be honest with you, I think I will. I'll probably like play a video game and watch it because I will be like, what's in there, Zach? Come on, what have you got for me?
I know he wants it to be R-rated, the director's cut, and so you could tell where they had to like really tone down the violence. Like, it's all super bloodless and bland. That'll make the fight scenes a little bit more visceral, I suppose.
Well, you say that. What if it's just CG splatters everywhere?
I mean, it could well be. We'll have to wait and see. There is quite a few like close combat scenes with like axes and stuff for some reason. So
yeah,
maybe that'll give us something. But yeah, you're gonna have to really pull this one out of the bag, Zach. And I don't believe in you.
Prove us wrong, Zach. Prove us wrong.
Yeah. AG says, "Drinker, I'm really enjoying Blue Eye Samurai. Thank you for the recommendation. Have a happy holidays, everyone." Thank you, my friend. Same to you. Waddle D's Nuts says, "So, Drinker, according to Mike Zero, early test screenings for the Marvels just had KK getting fired. I don't know why they chose to film that, but whatever." Yeah, probably. Anything's possible in the world of Mike Zero. That's the interesting thing about him. Actually, I'm going to see what his latest videos are. Let's see what Mike has got to say about it. I'll give you a lowdown on his latest ones. So, right. Ryan Reynolds takes serious action against Disney after Deadpool 3 drama.
Ooh.
It's official. The worst Marvel news in years. Disney loves to lose money and fans.
That's true.
Elon Musk just cost Disney billions of dollars. Shocking news gets even worse for Bob Iger.
Mm.
Ryan Reynolds just destroyed woke X-Men by Disney after Deadpool 3 disaster. What on earth happened?
Indeed, what on earth happened?
This is my favorite one. Ryan Reynolds loses his mind with Disney after Deadpool 3 disaster and drama hits a terrible low.
Oh, no.
You know what's interesting as well, right? All of his videos are the exact same length. 9
Wow.
minutes and 6 seconds.
Really? Okay.
Oh, no, there's one 9 minutes and 7 seconds there.
Oh, that's different.
9 minutes and 3. Then, yeah. That is uncanny. It must be like 95% just boilerplate text, like that he just copies and pastes into every video. That's why there's so little variation in the length. Man, he's got it figured out. Like, he's yeah, maybe he's an AI. I don't know. MJO Skyverse says, I'll end my 2023 media with Godzilla -1, diving into Blue Eye Samurai and Fall of the House of Usher next week. All excellent choices.
Hey.
Muller, superb EFAT movie redux on Lord of the Rings extended trilogy. Merry Christmas to you all.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Yeah, are you going to find time to watch Godzilla, do you think?
I've been waiting for Mel to arrive. He said he wanted to see it with me on the cinema, so we're going to do that when he's here.
Super.
I'll be able to have the hot take that Lizard movie isn't good, and everyone will hate me.
Be prepared for much hate. Josh Henderson says, I swear 2023 has been a long year of the biggest dumpster fire in cinema history. It has been trash after trash after trash, garbage after garbage, and not just Disney, but Hollywood in general.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad. But then, you know, there's some grains of highlights here and there every once in a while.
Yeah, you can always find them. Jay Fraser, hail gents, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you very much, and same to you.
Yeah.
Hidden Duck, Muller, a few bars ago, oh yeah, open bar. That's the thing we do, isn't it?
Yeah.
A few bars ago, you said, fuck this game about AW2. I wonder why. I watched playthrough and didn't find it that awful or woke. Yes, there was a bit of cringe dialogue, but overall, it felt like a rather unique game. Alan Wake 2, sorry.
All right. If you've seen my stream of it or not, you'll be able to see me gradually losing my mind at how awful the dialogue is and the storytelling. Like, it's just next level abysmal. And I've never been thrown out of a game so hard by how bad the writing is. To give you an idea, Drinker, like, one of the aspects is that you're a detective, and so you go to like scenes of crimes and it'll be like, look for the most important and interesting things. You know, kind of like in RoboCop. I assume you got that far, yeah.
Yes.
And in RoboCop, he's like, okay, so, you know, there's blood here, there's this here, there's this here, so that means that someone's definitely been killed here. Oh, look, I found a weapon that has blood on it. That's probably what did it. Just simple stuff. In Alan Wake 2, like the scene of the crime where the thing happened, there'll be like a pile of cans of beer off to the side. And I was looking at that, I was like, oh, you know, that could be there for a lot of reasons. She scans it and she's like, it means that they were here for a long time. I was like, no, it doesn't at all. And you have no idea who was drinking it. You don't know if it was here before that. You don't know who. And then I was like, wait a minute. And just off to the side, there was like a caravan and there was a cooler. And I was like, oh, cooler. And there's beers here. They kind of match. I wonder what's in the caravan. It might be like their sort of HQ. And there's no interest from the characters to check it. You have to go do that like as a side thing. And then you can see that it absolutely belongs to the people who killed him. And that's way more evidence that they were camping out here, like literally. I was like, why? What? And, you know, that's like one of the higher on the list things that's chill. You go into the town and the fucking waitress of a place you've never been before, bear in mind, she says, oh, like, hey, and then uses your full name. And you're like, what? Oh, hi? Like, who are you? And she's like, yeah, it's been so long since we've seen each other. And it's like, oh, that's weird. And she's like, sorry about your daughter. You know, sorry that she drowned. And then you're like, no, my daughter's fine. And she's like, huh, okay. And then you're like, huh, that was weird. And I was like, you don't just say that was weird. You go, what the fuck are you talking about? How do you know my name? You like trolling me. I've never even been here before. How do you know I have a daughter? And then you'd obviously be like, is my daughter okay? Like, what the hell's going on? But no, the character's just like, And then she tells someone that later, and the guy's like, yeah, she's a bit weird over in the in the diner. And it's
Okay.
like, no, for fuck's sake. And, you know, a lot of people will be like, yeah, but it's a wacky world written by a writer or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nah, I'm not interested. I fucking hate it. And so, yeah, there's 5 hours of me. And by the way, laundry list of writing issues. Those are just like 2 random ones. But, I mean, if you want to know more, Az did a video, or maybe 2, on Alan Wake 2 and how badly written it is. That might convince you a bit better, but that is the point of view that I have, and I think he has as well. It's a joke that won Best Narrative.
One to avoid then, I guess, for me.
Absolutely avoid it.
Hugo Joss Catton says, Hail Drinker, I'm very interested to hear yours and the panel's thoughts on Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes movies. I adore them, especially the relationship and chemistry between Holmes and Watson. So, yeah, I thought those movies were perfectly fine. I thought they were quite enjoyable. Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law worked well together.
I'm quite fond of the first one. I remember thinking the second one was, like, I want to say the place between good and fine. I was like, I'm happy with that. And then they stopped making them. I was like, okay. But I really like the first one. I really like Mark Strong in it as well. And I like all of the mysteries were explained, but they at first came across as very much like, this is just magic. But then they actually tell you how it's all done and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he was a good Moriarty. I enjoyed him. And
wait, Mark Strong?
Yeah, was he not Professor Moriarty? Oh no, that was in the second one, wasn't it?
You know, he was like Black Tooth or something, like the wizard. But,
yes, that was it. Sorry,
well, Blackwood, that was it.
Yeah, so I don't know what the reason was that they stopped making them. Then was the second one just not very successful financially? Or?
I assume that was what happened. I genuinely have no idea, though.
It was a Game of Shadows, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, what's the box office? It made 543 million worldwide.
On a budget of?
I mean, it couldn't have been that big a budget. Let's see, 125 million. So I think that's a pretty healthy return. I think. So what was the future? Yeah, so they announced it way back in 2011 they were going to do a Sherlock Holmes 3.
Damn.
And then I'm just trying to read it so I don't waste people's time for too long.
Aye, makes sense.
They said that they were going to, like, Downey Jr. and Jude Law were both up for doing it. All right, so they pushed it. It seemed to like just keep getting pushed back, and delayed. Yeah, and then it got to COVID, and it was delayed indefinitely. Yeah, it kind of seems like, I don't know, maybe they were just getting too old, like the actors, and they weren't up for doing it anymore, because I suppose you can only delay a project.
I wonder if they are a bit too old now, especially if it was originally planned for 2011.
Yeah, that's a long time to be sitting on a project. I suppose eventually you don't want to be attached to it anymore, because like it kind of holds up your schedule when you want to do other things. Okay, John McKinley says, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Drinks on me. Yippee-ki-yay. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Adam Zillan, ignoring it and taking my cash, Drinker. I live here and have done for 20 years. Japan? Yeah. Even if I am spending my own yen to tell you how messed up your take on that BS was. Well, I don't agree. I guess this is the Blue Eye Samurai thing. Yeah. It's up to you, man. SJ Shakes says, some drink to remember, mostly pre-2015, some drink to forget, most of post-2016. Thank you. And yeah, I definitely need plenty for both. The Hidden Duck says, also, Merry Christmas, gents. Thank you for awesome entertainment throughout this year. Cheers. Thank you, sir.
Merry Christmas.
Adam Morrison, for the panel, what makes a character well written and developed in a movie? Is it that they have multiple sides of their personality, their relatability to the audience? Would love to hear your thoughts. I don't think
that's kind of it's weird, right? Because it sounds like the easiest thing to answer ever, and then you're like, oh wait, I guess if you want, you're gonna want a specific or at least core way that they operate, something that they, for lack of better terms, so generic, but something they want and need, something that drives them, and then that stays consistent or develops, and then add dimensions where you can. But you know, a 3-dimensional character, as if to say someone who's motivated by protecting their family, but also to make money, but also to keep loyalty to their father, for example. Like, oh, that sounds like you can mix and match with all of them. But then if there's a character that's solely like a zombie that only works for the master or whatever, it's like it doesn't make them an automatically worse character IMO. It's really about execution, right? But like a Palpatine, it's like he's pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah.
But like he's very good for the role that he fulfills as well as the acting. So yeah, you just, I mean, it was the same answer I'll give for most of the writing questions. Stay consistent with what you establish and just give us something that helps us understand ahead of time like what this character is going to be doing, and then play with it somewhat. Try and keep it spicy a little bit, but keep it in line with what you've told us.
Yeah, I don't think because just to dive into the answers or that they provide you here or the suggestions, like there's not like there's one specific way or formula that you have to apply to a character to make them good. It's there's like infinite variations of personalities, motivations, traits, whatever. It's given us enough of that character's personality, letting the audience understand enough of them to make them interesting. And obviously, if it's a protagonist type character, if you can get your audience to root for them, then you've written a good character. It's not always difficult. It's just a case of finding something for people to latch onto, I suppose. And it could be something like we talked before about how Sam is one of the most fucking likable characters in Lord of the Rings. He's a pretty simple personality. He just wants to go with his master and help him as much as he can. He's ferociously loyal to Frodo and doesn't really concern himself too much with the bigger questions and like the bigger struggles that are going on. He's just very much focused on the things in front of him, and we still end up loving him for it. It's it doesn't always have to be a particularly complex person, but as long as it's something you can root for, I suppose.
Yeah.
Mitch says Netflix's Yu Yu Hakusho, Chef's Kiss. All right, recommendation there. Rupert says, you can talk about this later, but I just finished Band of Brothers and The Pacific. Obviously, Band of Brothers is the superior show, but what are your thoughts on The Pacific? Does it stand up on its own merits, or do you think Band of Brothers influences people's thoughts? It's, I wasn't a huge fan of The Pacific, and I think it's because the narrative feels a lot more fragmented. I found it harder to differentiate the characters apart. Almost on a visual level, like they all look and act in such a similar way that you start to get them all mixed up. And I think perhaps it's down to having a better knowledge of the way the war played out here in Europe. Like, I guess we're kind of more knowledgeable about, like, okay, these guys had to go ashore on D-Day or whatever, and then they fight through northern France, and then they're going into Germany, and like you kind of know the geography, the sequence of battles. Whereas when it's the Pacific, like it's a bit more of a hodgepodge of different island hops and stuff, and just like random battles that you probably don't know too much about. And yeah, I think for all those reasons, it was just not as strong a narrative to follow. And yeah, the characters didn't really jump out as me as much. Moses Lack says, Drinker or Mauler or the panel, please complete the line. I've got news for you. That means think about iced tea.
Oh,
I know the line.
Yeah, doesn't everyone know? How can I not know the line? I've guest starred on fucking FNT and Real BBC enough to have heard it 10,000 times.
It is a great scene, though. It's one for the ages. Sticky Fingered Bandit says, we got robbed of Dune Part 2. Biggest upset yet. I mean, it's coming. It's coming. March. But yeah, it's a shame. It might have lifted this year a little bit.
Yeah.
Driving Ahead says, please watch Percy Jackson and the Olympians TV show. It's a perfect adaptation of my favorite childhood series because the author was heavily involved. You will be pleasantly surprised. Now, Percy Jackson's an interesting one for me because I can truthfully say I know fuck all about the character or the movies or the books that it's based on. I don't know a single thing about it. I've never watched any of the films. So I don't really know what I'd be looking for there, I suppose. Waddle D's Nuts says, a bucket of AIDS or an 8-second whiff into Amy Schumer's ass crack. Fuck.
I mean, at least with a bucket of AIDS, we can just toss it out, right? So,
yeah, you don't have to drink it or anything, presumably.
Yeah.
I love the idea that you could distill AIDS down into a liquid that you drink in a bucket. The biggest dose you've ever had.
Science will find a way.
Cyberhunk says, I have a suspicion that they deferred tax liability from all the billion-dollar films a few years ago, and now they're driving up expense and loss to alleviate paying off the taxes they delayed. I mean, if you can do that, I suppose. Yeah, I thought it only worked if it was a cancelled project rather than like a movie that just flops, but I don't know how the economics of it work. Easty says, can you imagine One Piece comics done by Marvel or DC? Luffy issue 1, Kaido issue 1, Straw Hat Pirates issue 1, followed by a reboot and then multiversal editions. Yeah, it's fucking hell. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for just having one consistent narrative that begins and then ends. Noticed Me Portgas says, Merry Christmas, boys. I hope you all have a great holiday season and hopefully Malware can get some sleep at some point.
Huh.
That was an embittered laugh there.
One day.
George the Giant Slayer says, Hail Drinker, here's a bottle for the holidays. Also, many thanks for the incredible review of Blue Eye Samurai. Just finished it. What a beautiful series. Merry Christmas to Drinker, Mahler, Chris, Eric, Robert, and Shad. Thank you very much, George. Appreciate it, mate.
Yeah.
Ashens says, with the proliferation of AI art, does anybody fear these programs will replace actual comic book artists in the near future? I don't think so.
It's hard to say exactly how everything's going to go down over time, right? Like, replace, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always at that sort of point where you feel like you can tell that it's AI generated. It's just got that uncanny look to it. And I know it's only going to get better and better, but I think there still needs to be a bit of human creativity behind the art that you're producing. And I know Shad would probably have something to say about that. But
what's interesting is I remember looking at like special features for like Incredibles back in the day. I was super young, or Monsters Inc. maybe I think might be another example. When they were doing Sully's hair, they had to like invent new technology to be able to simulate, hair, like to make it look better and more realistic. And to an extent, a lot of it is like that is a form of AI, as in they set up systems to have the hair, but then it's meant to flow with whatever they put it into a situation of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we see arguably is some AI work. And I think that's probably what's going to happen, that in a certain amount of time, we'll celebrate something about something, and then someone will be like, that was AI, right? And it'll be like, yeah, but AI sort of corralled and shepherded by humans. I imagine that's going to be much more agreeable.
Didn't some of the Lord of the Rings battle sequences use like an early form of AI, where it's almost like running like a Rome Total War program or something, where like the Uruk-hai and and they've got a certain amount of like intelligence, and then you essentially turn them loose on each other and let them fight, and you're not like necessarily animating each individual soldier. It's like the computer itself is doing a lot of the work for you, which is an interesting concept.
That's what it all is, isn't it? Problem solving for filmmaking, and where it is effective, try and make use of it. We just hope that it doesn't replace everything, of course. But
it does throw up an interesting point, because I know like the basis of Shad's argument in terms of using AI for art or film production or anything really is that it opens it up to people who wouldn't have had the resources or the technical ability to do it by themselves. Obviously, like we sitting here in our offices, like we can't render a movie, we can't make something like Lord of the Rings, but like I guess the argument might be at a certain point you can have tools available to like the average person or the average like low budget filmmaker that can render like big battle sequences or whatever that will look good enough to put into a film, and you can essentially do that and hopefully give your script writing a chance to shine or whatever. It's like, well, I wouldn't have had the resources to film this otherwise, but now I can, and people can see what I've come up with. The AI is just a tool to supplement that. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't know where it would lead to, I suppose. Joshua Henderson says, the biggest headline, this film is trash. And I honestly don't know if you're talking about Aquaman 2 or Rebel Moon, but kind of applies to both of them, really.
A little bit.
Henrique says, greetings from Brazil. Question to the panel. If you could give more years to any author or anyone in the entertainment industry that's left us, who would you pick? Merry Christmas to you all. I think I would make Christopher Lee just live forever.
He's definitely up there for that kind of thing. Any author, any creative, is it?
Yeah, anyone.
probably want to try and grab someone who was maybe died like before their time, in the sense of like they were even in the middle of creating something.
Like Bruce Lee or something like that. Like, where would his
Could be, yeah.
career have gone?
Well, the guy who was making Berserk, right? Didn't he die before, like during working on all of it and stuff?
We could give George R.R. Martin an extra 100 years, and he might finish Winds of Winter then.
I ain't wasting bonus years on him.
You had your chance, George. Cyberhunk says Disney has done a better job of launching YouTube careers than acting careers. You're very true.
Yep.
Yeah. Josh Kelsey gave us $20. Cheers, mate. Curtis Hart says Eric is partly wrong. These big companies can pivot quickly. It's just that they are pivoting profits off of a cliff. Doesn't seem like a very good business decision, to be fair. Dragonic Ice Mage says, Merry Christmas all. This is kind of random, but does anybody on the panel remember either Mighty Max or Gargoyles from their childhood? I don't know if they still hold up, but I enjoyed them a lot when I was younger.
I mean, I watched some Gargoyles, but it's been forever, so...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I watched it. Let's see if it's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, I think it's that one. Yeah, so right, it's clever. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember it now. Yeah, that was quite good. Good fun. Okay. Anthony Putch says Hollywood and society have been infected with the cancer of radical individualism for decades. Now we're in the inevitable end stage. Whoa, brutal. Nathan Cassidy, the big problem with Hollywood is that it's not economics, but trust. I don't trust the studios to tell me a basic story, never mind one that's entertaining. Trust is definitely a thing. I think when you go into a film, like just believing that they know what they're doing, you're kind of more, you're able to relax into it a little bit more. Whereas now, if I go to see a Marvel movie or any Disney movie, really, I'm just like waiting for them to fuck up because they do so consistently. Michael Kravitz says, how you doing, drinker? Merry Christmas. Got my Critical Doggo plushie sitting on the tree. Excellent. Yeah. Keep it away from your actual dog if you've got one, because they love to tear those things apart. I know. But thanks, mate. Escape the Prison Colony says, future project for Hollyweird. The X non-specific gender diversity hires. It works so well for Snow White. Yeah, I can't wait to see their take on the X-Men, man. Hardy Boys says, shout out to Ripper. He's so magical he can keep crackers in Europe and Australia calm. Jeez. Okay. Neem says, AI lacks the fundamentals. It will never know them and thus cannot be relied on. Studios will rely on it and only further their own destruction. I mean, I assume there's always going to be oversight of it, whatever it produces. You're not just going to like turn an AI loose and say, make a film and just assume it's going to be good.
Well, someone will do that, but they won't be like Disney or anything.
Be an interesting experiment, actually. Just let it do its own thing and then just see what it comes out with.
Those wacky videos. I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter where it's just like an AI constructed thing entirely, and it's all of it's surreal and abstract. But
yeah. There was one that freaked me out the other day. It was like a biblically accurate angel produced by an AI, and it's just like this giant like series of wheels spinning around each other covered in eyeballs.
What the hell?
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yogi Life says, hi, Critical Drinker. Please consider checking out Kung Fu Panda trilogy. Great cast, animation, and writing. Much better than animations like Wish. Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah. Kung Fu Panda 1 and 2 I haven't seen 3, but 1 and 2 kick ass.
Euler's Workshop. AI only scares those who don't want to change themselves. Tech progresses exponentially, and AI will be 16 times better by 2030. Corridor Digital already made a full anime using AI and live action short. Well, okay. Mystery Meat says, how dare you? It's Iron Man, not Iron Man. How could we have got that wrong? Are you excited for Ironheart, Muller?
Oh, God, yeah. Come on. I wonder if that'll even get released.
Yeah.
Who knows anymore?
John McKinley. Drinker, thanks for what you do. Muller, open the damn portal and take us to a better reality already. Chris, stay silver, pony boy. Shad, thoughts on the Braveheart Claymore? Ripper, keep loving, been loving the comics. Keep it up. Hail to the Fellowship. Thank you. I have no idea what
will make you stronger.
Yay. But I can't remember what Shad thought about the Braveheart Claymore. I'm sure he would have had something to say about it. I need to go back and rewatch our or watch through. Paul Tompkins says sci-fi movies needs what? FFS new IP. Plenty out there. Ian M. Banks, Neil Stevenson, W. Gibson already wrote what we need. Any of you read Diamond Age? Do it. I have not read Diamond Age, I'm afraid, so I don't know. Patient Elijah says, hey, Drinker, have you been watching Cowboy Bebop anime dubbed or with subtitles? By the way, have you finished it yet? I think it was subtitles. And no, I haven't finished it yet. But yeah, I need to get back into that. H.R. Geiger's search history says, Drinker and Mahler, an aspiring alcoholic, what brandy would you recommend? Now, that's an interesting question because I know fuck all about brandy.
And I know less than that about brandy.
It's the one thing I've never gotten into. I don't like the taste of it particularly, and yeah, I'm more of a whiskey guy, I guess, so I can't recommend one to you. Cole Hauser says, hey, Drinker, Molla, Ripper, Shad, Frank, and Robert. Robert, loved Free Enterprise, one of my favorites. Moller, love EFAP. Please do Transformers.
One day we shall.
Do it. Jay Fraser says, Drinker, I find your comment on The Night of the Doctor and agree with you on Paul McGann. I'm listening to his canonical audio adventures by Big Finish Productions. He is an underrated doctor. He is. He just had the rotten luck of being in a crappy TV movie because I think he really embodied the spirit of the Doctor. And he was clearly up for doing more stuff. He wanted to get back into it. It's just nobody wanted to hire him. Such a shame.
Yeah.
Michael Whitehead says, female leads, 1935 to 1966. Hunter Wally, Fearless Nadia, The Wizard of Oz, Judy Garland. She, Ursula Andress, The Wild World of Batwoman, Catherine Victor. We're just giving them some female roles there.
I guess so.
Tomok says, I got a question. Do you guys think the Kingdom Hearts is a masculine or a feminine game series with it being Disney owned? I can't answer that because I haven't played it.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it to say. I don't
know. It always seems like a weird setup because it's not like characters like Goofy and Mickey and stuff hanging out with like Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, it's a weird franchise I've never ever got into.
Yeah. Javi says, I just got myself the critical doggo in the mail. I officially have a booze hound. Excellent. Thank you, man. 12-cent Ronan says, they're taking the hobbits to Isengard, to Isengard, to Isengard. Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you, sir. Emissarial says, question for Eric. Is the magazine industry as a whole subject to the same vulnerabilities you described, or are comics run differently? Now, I wish Eric was here to answer that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Drew Williams says, Merry Christmas to you all, and hey, Mahler.
Howdy.
Yeah, you got singled out there. Larry Escher says, Drinker, how long does it take to edit your review and recommends videos? What editing software do you use? So, as a rough guide, take me a day or so to write the script for it, then record the audio, and then another day or two to do the video or the visuals to go with it. And I use VideoPad Professional because it's simple, like me, and easy to use. So, yeah, that's generally my way of doing it. Yeah, my videos probably seem monumentally short compared to what Mahler produces. But it's just the scale of it is just completely different, you know?
Yeah.
I like to get them done quickly.
I've mentioned those shows before. We make quite an incredibly strange pairing in terms of how we both make videos.
Yeah. I just got a short attention span. I can't talk about a film that long. You know, I just lose my mind.
Except Lord of the Rings.
Well, yeah. Seminole 2014 says, on the topic of indie creators and AI, anyone know what became of the young dude that did the Scooby-Doo short on YouTube using AI voices? I know Gray Delisle came after him, but I don't know what happened after. So, didn't he end up getting hired or something? Or am I thinking of someone different there? Just give me 1 second to research it.
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah, it's not really giving us much here. Okay, someone talking about a Scooby-Doo porn parody. That's an entirely different road to go down. Stubble McShave says, no one is talking about Steamboat Willie being public domain in 2024. Disney is not fighting it in the courts. Can't wait for the Donald Duck slasher. Is Steamboat Willie now public domain? It's crazy shit.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because is it always a statute of 100 years? Is that the limitation on it? Like, and everything will go public domain after 100 years? Or, like, can you actually renew your ownership of it?
Genuinely, at this point, I have no idea how much, like, they've pushed it forward. So, I suppose it's neat that there was a limit, though.
Yeah. I know, like, It's a Wonderful Life, like, it's quite well known that the reason that became so successful and got so much, like, reruns is just because it lapsed into public domain really early. Like, the studio didn't renew it for some reason. And all these, like, local TV channels and stuff started playing it at Christmas time, and it just became bigger and bigger because they could get away with it. They didn't have to pay royalties. Such a weird little thing. Early Berm says, Drinker, my critical doggo came from Makeship yesterday, and it's so cute. Excellent. I'm glad it got there okay.
Yeah.
My
plushie collection is huge at this point.
Yeah.
Stuffing them all into this big like area. They worship the marker still from Dead Space, which is good.
Naturally. Yeah. I'm sad I didn't get Azzy's hot dog one, actually, when I got the chance. Should have done it one day, though. Skeptical Panda says, Merry Christmas, Drinker, and the all panel. Thank you. Appreciate it. Zachary Fishman says, Hey, Drinker, I've been a fan for a while, but started watching Open Bar recently, and for Muller, started watching EFAPs also. Going to catch up with them eventually. Here's late Hanukkah, Jew Gold. Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas to you all.
Thank you very much.
Could you imagine the journey that they would have to go on to catch up with EFAP?
Yeah, it's there's a counter on the efap.me site of how long it would take you. I'm not even sure if that considers everything, but it's getting up there, Eventually, we'll make it so that it's not possible.
Yeah, you just couldn't do it in a lifetime. Gordon Cadell says, different subject, but is James Cameron films all love stories? Okay, let's think through them. They almost always
love story in T2, right?
Yeah, I suppose the human part of that, like the relationship is John and Sarah, and John and the Terminator. Yes. Yeah. There's your example then, I guess.
The film I like the most from him. There you
go. Michael Whitehead's female leads, part 2. So this is up to 1984. Barbarella, Jane Fonda, Wonder Woman, Kathy Lee Crosby, Alien, Sigourney Weaver, and Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, Tanya Roberts. Yeah, that was a very special movie. I remember that back in the day. She rides a zebra into battle. Travis Grant says, Rogue Elements, cuff, cuff, shameless plug. I know that name. Travis, you're my fucking director for that movie. Yes, hopefully we'll be sharing more about that soon. Lead Wall says, Drinker, got my plushie. Ripper, got my ISOM 1, 2, and Alpha Core. Muller, I'm rewatching Buffy and Angel after a decade. Chris, watching some of the winners from Award this. Thanks all for a great year. Excellent.
No problem.
Just working your way through all of our stuff.
We're doing our part.
Yay. Addiction Transfer. What do you think about all the times Mizu heals from being stabbed in the abdomen after just sleeping and drinking soup? Or how about when a spear goes directly through her ankle and does nothing but make her limp for a bit? Well, in some cases, she's out of action for months, so I can buy into that. Some of the stab wounds are relatively shallow, or if you get stabbed in the shoulder, like I can imagine you can heal up from that fairly quickly. But yeah, like I say, she does get fucked up quite a bit in the course of that series, and some of the injuries are pretty severe. But the foot thing did bother me a little bit. Like, she's going through a corridor with like random spikes that will just shoot out, and one of them goes right through her ankle, and she has to pull it out. And it's like, damn, that's pretty bad. But then it seems to heal up pretty quickly, or at least stop bothering her. Feels like that would do a lot of damage. Jack White says, Hi, Drinker and friends. I decided to make a webcomic as a hobby, and I'm not great, but it is super enjoyable. Is there any advice you have for me? I guess keep plugging away. Keep doing it and get better. Learn from what you do. Charlie Zero says, Drinker, as a Gen Xer and love of the original Star Wars, do you and your panel have optimism for new creative original content in the future? Any writers, directors we should be aware of and support? I definitely have like hope for people operating outside the Hollywood system. you know, who aren't bound up in all the rules and crap that goes with it and just want to tell good stories. And I think they're more and more they're getting the tools that they need to be able to produce, you know, entertainment by themselves. I mean, look at the panel we had the other night. Half of us are like working on all kinds of different things because we're able to do it now. So yeah, I mean, I think there is hope for the future. Simon Grindle says, BBC News, Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount are in merger talks. What's your thoughts? I mean, I don't know how Warner Brothers is really able to afford this, because aren't they like $50 billion in debt? It's insane.
Well, we talked about it. Their debt cancels out the other debt, so.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's
how
how
could I not have known that? Lord Asserman says, Yu Yu Hakusho crammed 3 seasons into 5 episodes. It's a weird adaptation of a series I hold so close to the heart. But to be fair, they kind of made it semi-coherent. Watch the anime though, it's better. Yeah, I'd rather get something that's fully coherent rather than semi-coherent. Yeagelsker Videos says, Chris, if you want help for free in analyzing the data from Netflix, then let me know. I'm a professional data scientist who is very bored. Well, there you go.
All right, yeah.
He can help you, Chris. Blue Collar Loser says, so I took Dark Hour to NYC to see Rebel Moon. His video should be out Friday. Hands down, Snyder's worst film. At least we suffered together, lol. I mean, would you put it as worse than Army of the Dead?
Oh, I don't think so. I think Army of the Dead is worse. But Rebel Moon's really bad.
Yeah. Michael Whitehead.
Most people fucking seen Army of the Dead. That's why they don't consider it.
Yeah, that's possibly. Yeah, his career trajectory is insane. It's just like, how much further can he fall before people just stop hiring him?
Yeah.
Michael Whitehead, I have more, but limited text and cost. I will leave it here. My point is made. I am sure you agree with me. Sure. Yeah, let's go with that.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Cyberjar. Daily Wire determined to be anti-woke Disney. The answer to divisive politics in film isn't more divisive politics, it's good movies. 28 days later, a black woman saves a white man. No politics, just fucking cool. Yeah, isn't that funny, eh? When you just focus on telling a good movie. And yeah, this is, I guess, the problem with something like the Daily Wire. You really saw it come through in that Lady Ballers that they made. It's like, you're not going to capture that middle ground of people who just want fun entertainment that's just there to be enjoyed. You know, if you're just preaching more politics, but from the other side of things, you're just going to alienate those people again.
If someone said, like, yeah, but we've got to balance it out, it'd be like, yeah, okay, but like, I mean, you're not going to gain fans by doing that, I don't think. You're just going to mainly have people who already agree with you being like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
When we're all waiting to just be entertained, man.
Yeah. It's not that hard. Just do it. Rob Miles says, are you excited for the X-Files reboot? Nope. I don't want that to get rebooted. X-Files was amazing back in the day. That was like one of my shows of the 90s. Blue Collar Loser says, the drive to New York City was 3 hours both ways. Thank you, Muller, for playing Valhalla. Drinker, I got to spend 6 hours with Kratos and the Long Man. Ragnarok is my game of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I've told Drinker to play that DLC. It's free and you'll really like it. It's very, very good. They put a lot of effort into the storytelling for it, as opposed to it just being like a throwaway thing. It's also like a roguelite if you've played those before. I'm not sure if you have, but the idea being that you do a run, you die, and then you use materials to build up your next run even better, and then you die, and so on and so on. They contextualize that into Valhalla being a, the afterlife, but they give you a bunch of stuff. It's really, really, really cool, and it'll take you, if you go on like an easier difficulty, it should take you like, I'd say 5 hours, something like that.
That's decent there. Okay, cool. Hombre says, hey Drinker, glad you're going to watch Attack on Titan. It's one of the animes that I would have recommended. A couple of other great ones to watch would be Mob Psycho and Jujutsu Kaisen. JJK is having a 10 out of 10 second season right now. Sounds all right then. So many like recommendations for stuff like this. It's like a whole different world, and probably a lot of it's amazing. Just wish I had more time for it. Albert Nada Retro says Captain Marvel was an all men are bad movie. I mean, the Don wasn't bad. He was a beautiful soul.
Don was awesome, yeah. And a lot of people have said, have you noticed how there's a bit of a connection there? Captain Marvel makes $1 billion. The Marvels does not. Captain Marvel has the Don. The Marvels does not.
Yeah, coincidence? I don't think so.
Yeah, think about that next time, Marvel.
Nick C. Merry Christmas. Have any of you seen the Netflix movie Claws? It's a great Christmas movie about friendship and how kindness can spread. I haven't, I'm afraid. Haven't seen that. Zodlander says, in my opinion, it was the unknown that made the movies good. Now we know the limit of movie making. CGI should be a tool for enhancing the visuals, not a replacement. I'm inclined
I
to
almost
agree
want
with
to
that.
take CG away from them as an option, just completely, and then watch them fucking cry.
You have to use actual practical sets and
No.
models. We can't do it. Jay Fraser, Muller, Retro Blasting, a vintage toys and classic cartoons reviewer channel, has done a fellow longman, a 4-hour review takedown of Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, I've spoken to him before. I forget whose stream I was on, but I've spoken to him. I think it might have been like 3 years ago now, but it's hard to keep track. We've been doing this so long.
We have Weaponized Autism says, Rob nailed it. I hate seeing smartphones in media. Just hate them in general, really.
In general, I mean,
they certainly do limit like storytelling potential in a lot of ways because they create so many problems from a writing perspective.
Yeah.
Whereas, why can't they just call for help? Albert Nada Retro says, Disney could never get me back now. Kathleen Kennedy saying Star Wars doesn't need men, mocking male sexual assault victims with the flick in and disrespect of longtime fans of the IP in general. Nope. Okay. Joe says, does anyone on this panel intend to watch and review the Percy Jackson show? You seem to have more interest in that than me, because like I said, I know nothing about Percy Jackson.
I don't know anything about Percy Jackson. I just know was another one with Sean Bean was somebody. I don't know.
I don't know. Sean Bean was somebody.
I got nothing. I don't know. Yeah.
Chris Tutu says, given a number of Disney actors coming out as violent people in their personal lives, do you think a soft reboot or, to a further extent, a scorched earth policy with the whole universe forcing a decade-long hiatus on their IPs? We kind of talked about this the other night, actually, because that's what led us into the Jonathan Majors chat about violent people. But yeah, I would generally, I think with a lot of things, I would pause them and reassess, as I said earlier. Captain Jean-Luc Bacardi says, that's a great name, by the way. Hey, Drinker, Muller, and panel. Do you think a critic mindset of movies predetermines or skews your bias towards aspects of film? I ask because objectively terrible films can be enjoyed by many others. So,
I mean, it's like an age-old question. It's kind of Cypher versus Neo. I hate to fucking make that comparison. It sounds so autistic, but where you're like aware of how everything's put together and you're thinking about how it all goes, as opposed to, say, for example, a Michael Bay movie where it's like, why aren't you just enjoying the scene for what it is? Why are you pointing out that explosion was insane, or that that doesn't make any sense? And it's like, well, sure, but like I can kind of do both. I can appreciate like the fun and thrill of a scene while also being like, oh, that I don't know if that makes sense or if that was well executed, or oh god, there's a Michael Bayism right there, the way that he does that shot or the way that he does this. Zack Snyder would probably be actually a really good example. Certain family members of mine were like, oh, Rebel Moon was really fun and awesome and stuff, and I was like, yeah, like, I'm sure, and then I watch it, if I was to watch it with them, and if I started being like, don't you think the mother will makes no sense because of the fact that they want this, they'd probably be like, yeah, well, yeah, I guess so, if you're gonna think about it to that. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't think we are incapable of enjoying a movie just for the dumb fun of it. In fact, I think Drinker, as well as myself, would advocate that when you get the nuts and bolts correct, I still want some monkey brain, lizard brain stuff. I want like fun things, explosions and action, and everybody just messing around and stuff and fun. It's just like executing it well or not. And the thing is, though, if someone said like, "Do you want as an exchange?" Like, I don't know if this sounds scary or not to you, but if someone said like, we can do something to your brain that makes it so you enjoy all movies from now on, you're like, yeah, no, I think I'm okay. I don't think I want that.
Then I would just be Chris Stockman. Like, I don't want to be him.
Yeah, no one should have to live that way.
Yeah, that's just too cruel. Chop Socky says, I've always wondered how Harriet could have signed off on the Wheel of Time series when Jordan wouldn't have ever let his books be interpreted that way. Well, that's what happens when someone takes over an estate, and yeah, I don't know enough about Wheel of Time to make a judgment on it, but I've never heard anything particularly good about the TV show. So, Also, John Lupicardi says, thoughts on Reacher Season 2? I don't remember the first season having such cringy lines. So, yeah, I haven't watched Season 2 yet. Again, it's on my list. I definitely will watch it because I quite enjoyed Season 1. Be ashamed to think that it's gotten cringy, but I guess I'll wait and see. Dirty Darty says, question for the panel. What's your opinion on a Plague Tale series? Interesting medieval setting, relatable heroes. Didn't get that much attention, I think. If you discussed it before, I'm sorry if I missed it. I don't think we've talked about it, and
I don't know anything about it, really.
Okay, yeah, I'm afraid I don't have much for you either, mate. Sorry. Marine Lad says, first drinker, Golden Globes host. We're from Australia, Brisbane. My mate Tom enjoys your channel. Please wish him a Merry Christmas and do your go away now phrase. All right, Tom, have a Merry Christmas, mate, and go away now. There you go. Honeylock says, at the core, Disney is an example that you can't make global movies with a perspective of one group only. Not only are the films bad, they attack you because you're not thinking exactly like them. It's a pretty good way of looking at it, I would say. The Majin Trunks says, have you seen The Flight of the Dragons? If not, I highly recommend giving it a watch. It's an animated Rankin/Bass movie. It's a high fantasy movie about magic versus logic, and it needs more attention. All right. Good recommendation there then. 1982 it was made. Hunter 1541 gave us £10, so thank you. Shattered Glass says they probably have Doom kill all of the Kangs as retcon. I mean, why not at this point?
Yeah.
Rated M says the first seasons of Quantum Leap in 1989 covered more themes and better stories in under 30 minutes. New movies can't with more than 2 hours. Yeah, Quantum Leap was good. CJ says, hail Drake, hail Rippaverse. Love to see great creators. The MCU is dead. I'm not going to miss it, but yeah, thanks, man. And looking forward to releasing my film.
Yeah.
The Orange Pill Nurse. If Majors wasn't a DEI hire, this panel would have supported him. They love ego narcissistic leading men in movies, but now they're clutching their pearls at this panel because he called himself a great man, feminist. I mean,
what?
Really? I think if anyone behaved that way, I would say they were a dick.
I was going to say, we shit on actors for being narcissists constantly. A lot of them are some of the actors we really like too.
Yeah, I mean,
like, I don't know where that comes from at all.
No. Fear the Hammers says, just woke up. I fell asleep while Drinker was describing Aquaman 2. What did I miss? Not a whole lot. So yeah, just don't bother with the film. Dredge says, I would love to see Alan Richardson and Chris Pratt work together. The Terminal List and Reacher crossover or something similar to the shows. I did think about that, actually. It feels like they're in very similar worlds. That'd be quite a cool crossover. Maniac says, screw Hollywood. I watch Korean shows and movies almost exclusively now. Done with the woke stuff. Can't blame you. Trevor Wingard. Mahler, are you finally getting some rest now that Lord of the Rings video is out?
I'm behind on like 4 of the things I need done, so it was so funny, dude. I was already like desperately trying to get things done in order for dates and stuff, and then the Lord of the Rings thing just drops on me, and I was like, okay. I've spoken to Free about it several times. My like philosophy, if I have such a thing, is just, well, get on with it. You know, like there's no point in just being like, oh, where? Like I should have to
Why
just make it.
Well, we had a big discussion about what to do with it.
We did.
I think you want a bit of perspective on it, and
bit of a come to Jesus moment, or come to drinker moment, I guess. But trying to figure out what the fuck to do next.
Somagayan Parfu says, I can't wait for Drinker's new film to come out, even if it's just to blow the other film companies out of the water. We need better written movies. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't imagine I'm going to like shake Hollywood to its core or anything with this movie, but you know, it's a start, I suppose, and it's hopefully going to lead to bigger and better things as we progress forward. Loki L says, Army of the Dead is like if colon cancer got a brain tumor.
Oh no.
Carno, I think Disney Marvel can absolutely not mention Kang again, just as they have not mentioned and line skipped Baron Mordo as a villain. It's a shame because I can never say his name. Chiwetel Ejiofor holds a better screen presence than Majors, in my opinion. He is a better actor, I would say.
He's a great actor. He's completely wasted along with so many others. And the original version of the movie was the opening scene. He was going to attack Wanda and she was going to kill him. And then later in the movie, she would present his head to Doctor Strange, but they cut it. In fact, I think they filmed all of that, but they just didn't make it into the final cut. So yeah, sorry, he's dead. Like he's not in the
Right.
fucking story anymore.
Armchair Troop says, "Can you please put Zack Snyder on trial? I think it'd be hilarious to have Snyder Bros on your show to defend him." This is for Chris Gore. Yeah, we should definitely do that, actually. Drew Marshall says, "I just started reading the Ryan Drake books and I'm loving them so far." Excellent. Jay Fraser, Muller, you mentioned a series of unfortunate events. I suggest the 2004 film for EFAP movies. To you both, I highly recommend the Netflix series. It's a faithful adaptation due to the author's involvement.
Yeah, I heard that the TV show was better, but the movie is just wild because of a lot of the decisions they made were very annoying compared to the books, which for once in my life, books I actually read, so the adaptation could piss me off. There you go. It did happen. But the aspect I guess that was interesting to me was that it felt like Jim Carrey was a really good choice for Count Olaf, but it just didn't go anywhere. Like nobody liked it that much, and it's like, oh well, out it goes. Which happens.
Yeah, I was never into the books, I'm afraid, so I just don't know. Travis says, "Love the way RMB thinks. Merry Christmas all." We love him too. He's a nice man. Moses Lack, Zack Snyder is a snappy dresser. What the fuck? He wears a button-up vest and tie. I do the same shit for court hearings and depositions. No one compliments my men's warehouse suit wearing ass, nor should they.
Nor should they.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine showing up on set to direct a movie wearing a fucking shirt and a waistcoat and a tie. Like, it's like the way Paul Feig dresses, you know, like he's just gotten out of a New York fashion show or something. Like, what the fuck, man? Jeans and a t-shirt would be about as far as I could go. Dearest says, "Gordon's Fisherman fish tits, lemon butter and garlic herb, now unbreaded. Trust your Gordon's Fisherman." I don't understand what the fuck I just read there, but sure, yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Avarith says, "Invincible Season 2 has bad pacing." Shocker, Rooney.
Have you watched it?
Nope, not yet. It's
wow.
Lists.
All those recommendations, and then you didn't even watch season 2. It's been out for ages. What's wrong with you?
I know. It's just, well, I was doing Lord of the Rings stuff with you. You just wouldn't stop bothering me about it.
You see how he shifts the blame? This is a...
Yeah. Lord Botha. I hear one of the problems they run into in the American Society for Magical Black People is that they lose the ability to use their nega bands. Okay. Fine.
Oh, jeez.
James Heikkinen says, just to follow up for Return of the King, one of the major changes that Peter Jackson did that annoyed me was the Witch King breaking Gandalf's staff.
Okay, can you help me out on this? Because you've read the Lord of the Rings books enough times to remember them pretty well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone in a comment said this, and I'd never heard this before. Is this true that Gandalf in the books fights the Witch King at least somewhat and wins, or is winning? Then Rohan arrive, and so the Witch King decides, like, it's very obvious that he's going to head to try and kill Theoden, and then Gandalf recognizes that, and he's interested in trying to protect Theoden, but then Pippin makes him aware that Faramir is about to die, so Gandalf has to choose between them.
That's correct to some extent. Yeah, he has to choose between them, and he pretty much comments like, "I sense this is going to go ill for Theoden, that I'm not going to be there to help him." But I don't recall them fighting Gandalf and the Witch King.
Oh, okay.
I think it gets to the point where they break the doors of Minas Tirith open with Grond, and the Witch King is the first one through the gap, and Gandalf is there to stand his ground and defend the place against them, but they never really get a chance to face off, because the moment those doors are breached, then the Riders of Rohan arrive, and so the Witch King heads off to deal with that instead.
Well, I hate to say it, but that sounds like a really cool thing to have left in the movie, the idea that Gandalf has to choose between saving Faramir or Theoden.
Yes. It's quite a tragic moment, because it's like he kind of knows what's going to happen. He has to sacrifice one to save the other.
Yeah.
Xian Hu says, "Perhaps the most dangerous animal in the world is a human who believes they have the moral high ground." Isn't that the truth? Jailer Kren says, "What's worse, Knives Out or Army of the Dead?"
Army of the Dead is one of the worst movies ever made. I know that you could be like, you said about Knives Out. I was like, probably not. It's bad. I think Glass Onion is worse than Knives Out.
At least, at least I don't feel like I've got cataracts when I'm watching Knives Out. Like, visually, it works, at least. It's just, the mechanics of the mystery are shit. But, yeah, I'd watch that over Army of the Dead. Laurel Lies Not Animations says, "Hey there, Drinker. I just wanted to remind you that we have Season 2 of Arcane to look forward to in 2024. Probably the only thing I'm excited to see. I just hope they can keep it going.
God, I hope it's good. Please be good. Please be good.
Yeah. Colin the Cyan says, "You see Poor Things yet? Happy holidays to you all." Nope. Sorry.
No, I haven't.
OMG puppies. Favorite Christmas song? Sam Phillips singing A Midnight Clear in a minor key. Okay. Simon Ho says, "Vacationing in Mexico, but I never miss open bar. That's the spirit." Thanks, man. Hope you're enjoying your Mexico vacation.
Yeah.
Cannon Folderall, "Merry Christmas to the open bar." Thanks, man. Gussie Greens gave us $10. Alan Raptor says, "Muller, did you know that Pedro Pascal was a demon in an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer? You got to see young Joel." He did know that, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, it's weird that you describe him as he was a vampire. But I guess a vampire is a form of a demon in Buffy. So I don't know if that could be a hyper Buffy fan or a poser. You have no idea. But yeah, no, I know. It's always been a fun fact to throw out to people when I watch it with them. It's like, look, it's a Mandalorian, but he's super young. And then he gets eaten like in 5 minutes after he's introduced. But it happens.
Jacob Cobberholm says, "Drinker, would you say you improved as a writer as you wrote more books? And do you feel the quality of the writing is better in your later books?" I would say probably yes, which is kind of hard for me to like judge myself and say that I did a good job. But yeah, I can look back to my first book, for example, and say, "Oh, I wouldn't have done that now, or I would have scaled this back or whatever." But it's a process. You learn as you go, and you hopefully do improve. That's the point. And I think, yeah, the later books are probably better than the early ones. The Alan Raptor says, "Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is the best Christmas movie." That is objectively wrong. It's Die Hard. Chris
Agreed.
Nicholson says, "Hail to all my favorite YouTubers. A very Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you for the countless hours of entertainment in 2023. Anyway, that's all I've got for this year. I'll go away now." Short, sweet, and to the point. Thank you, man. And last of all, Rob Miles says, "RMB should come back for a one-on-one chats." I've had him on before for a happy hour of chats, so it's been very good. But yeah, that was the last of the super chats, and my goodness, there was a lot of them. We were a popular one on Thursday night.
You guys must like this thing that we do. I don't know.
It's crazy, but yeah, very much appreciated, guys. Thank you for your generosity, especially at this time of year. It means a lot, and yeah, we'll endeavor to keep you entertained as we go forward into 2024. Hopefully, it's going to be a good year for Open Bar and for all of you. Yeah,
it shall be indeed.
But you will see me next on Open Bar tomorrow night. Muller sadly cannot make it. He has commitments, but I've got a
sorry, everybody.
So for one episode only, we've got a co-host to come in and fill for him.
I've sent a man who will make up for my disappearance. Don't you worry.
But he is suitably long, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.